in the UK, there's first of all a felt put on, because the slates themselves always have little bits of leak, so you always back it up with a bit of felt. And then you have timbers here, and you nail a series of layers of slate. These slates are mined in Wales and split in Wales. You nail a series of slates on here, and you always nail it so that there's room for the next set of nails that will hold on the next slate, like this one here. And then you go. So it's alright to go. I've treated it, as I said, English conditions here in Lancashire, you tend to get a lot of rots. Whenever you get timber, it's always best to treat it, even if it has been originally treated when it was put on. But put a fresh layer of treatment on whenever you expose it. This is the second impact site. You can see that the bottom slate here, number 1 slate, has been destroyed, broken off here. Number 2 slate here, this one, and the one here have also been broken, but the number 3 slates have more or less survived. So if everything goes to plan, it's just a question of replacing the number 1 slates and the number 2, and the number 3s can just be put back, hopefully. Example of where there's a nail, you can see I can't slide the ripper in there, but I can slide it in there, and I can slide it in there. So there's a nail about there, and that corresponds, it's dropped down a bit, but it will go into this beam originally, but it looks like the nail's slightly at an angle. Whoops, not the only thing at an angle. So what I've got to do then, the ripper is a bottom sort of square section at the bottom here, which you can hit with a hammer. So the procedure is you find out where the nail is, and then clout the back of the ripper with a hammer. It pulled the nail out, and that then allows you to remove this number 2 slate. Is that number 2 slate having been pulled out, and that exposes these rafters, which are what the slates are nailed into. This one split a little bits. And also, every one I've looked at has been fragments of slate, so when they did Gordon's roof, they must have broken quite a few slates, and they've just left them here for no reason. Anyway, I'll move them out and also treat this and then carry on. This is the number 1 slate removed, and again there's a lot of debris from when the roof was re-roofed, I guess. I presume they must have chipped the slates. They must have had someone who was good at chipping slates. Normally now we'd angle grind them, but the traditional way is to use a hammer and chip off edges, and that presumably is where all this stuff's come from. And for some reason they seem to have doubled up the battens. Normally the batten is only about one of these thicknesses, but for some reason they look like they've put double thickness on here. I don't really know why they've done that, but anyway, I'll just put back on top once we've cleared up and got the new slates. This is the fully exposed area. This is the remnants of the number 1 slate. It's broken off at the bottom, broken here, and then the number 2 slate, which goes above it again, has lost its corner. So they've got to be recreated from cut to size. So you want a slate that will go from here to here, and this width. Another one which goes from here to here, again this height. So we've got to make those, and then we've got to make the number 2s, or cut the number 2s to replace the damaged ones, and then we can put the 1s, the 2s, and the third one on top. The third one seemed to be okay. We always treat any timber that you can get at, really, because it tends to rot in this climate. So the more preservative you can put on it, the better. Generally speaking, if it's dry, it will last for hundreds of years. But if it gets any wetness on it, if you get some action by fungi and whatnot, it can go very, very quickly. So we always treat wherever possible any exposed timber, even though this was probably treated lats when they went in. Treated pieces of wood when they were originally put in. Number 1 slate cut to size, and so we have to now drill holes in it so it will fit on this piece of wood here underneath here that supports it, and also allow room for the number 2 slate to be nailed into here. We just drill this with the cordless drill. If I even tightened up, it would do better. And that's it. Rolled in, then we just secure that with a nail. These are galvanised clout nails. You have to knock this down so it secures the slate, but doesn't break. You hit it too hard, you can break the slate. Just want to leave about 1 millimetre or so proud on there, so that it's held down and the other slate can go a little bit high. The other slate can go over it reasonably easily. slate which goes over the number 1s. This has to slide onto this batten here so that it can't move down. You can feel up here, so you need a reasonable overlap. I've cut this exactly the same length as the original slate, and it didn't really allow much of an overlap, so I've moved it up a little bit so it'll be a little bit proud at the bottom, but it's better that, so at least it's secure here and held. There are always bits of compromises like that when you start doing slating, but it's a pity really that I didn't measure it exactly. I just cut to the one that was in there originally, so it's a little bit long at the bottom, short at the bottom. So that's the number 2 slates held in position, and this is the wire that will eventually hold the number 3 slate, which goes on here and completes the job. Be slid up, and that's doing okay. Then that's going to be held by this bottom wire here, and that will provide close towards it. I've just got one more slate to go in. Doing is finding where that batten is up here, so I can move along with me tool, and it's catching on the batten when I put this mark here, so I know that if I slide my slate up and it goes past that point there, then I'm on the batten. So that's essentially the point I've got to get to with this slate to make sure it goes onto the batten. Of the slate ripper, or the one I've made anyway, what I've done is I've shoved this up here so it goes over the top of the batten, and then I've slid the slate up on top of this, so then I can now manoeuvre this so that it's now my line is covered, and then that's my line just appearing. So by pulling that out now, then the slate's already on that batten, so it can be easily manoeuvred around, and that's basically how you get the slates up high enough so that they're on the batten above, and then you pull this stainless steel wire here upwards to make a catch for it so that it can't slide down. There's lots of work involved in doing that. Here when I started the job, but it's not really satisfactory because it's much narrower than the gap, plus that the top is pretty damaged. So what I'm going to do is cut another one to go in here. It's a little bit complicated in that I haven't got, because this is a full slate here, I've no hole I can drill to put a wire in, so this one's going to have to be cut, pushed into position, and then held with silicon sealant, which, having experienced it as an adhesive, it's very, very difficult to get off. So I think it's actually probably stronger than the wire, but that's hopefully the next job. But also they've put a big dob of silicon sealant in here, which you've got to get off by using a trowel and doing it slowly, and it's a real nuisance because it's just very, very difficult to get the trowel in, and you've got to be careful you don't break the slate. So a lot of time and effort spent on trying to get this off. Quality tools. I was using this as a scraper here because it's the thinnest tool I have to get underneath here to get this silicon out, and the blade slipped round here. I think it did originally have some kind of fastening there on one side, but not on both sides, so it slipped round and of course then went through my thumb. So that was not much fun. This is the one I made, which hasn't got any nail pulling things out, so it means it's easy to get out. So I've shoved it up and it's above the rafter, and then this slate here goes up quite easily then onto that rafter. And then, as I say, this will have to be held in by silicone, and then I've got to then get this tool out without causing any damage, and also making sure this one doesn't slip down in the process. So it's a bit of a complicated logistics business, sort of getting the thing out and not causing any damage. But hopefully, see what happens then. If you're not careful, because this one isn't held in by anything, then it slips down and you've got to start again, which is a bit of a nuisance. A hammer at the bottom, my hammer shaft at the bottom, to act as a brake to stop that thing sliding down as I get this, or attempt to get this steel. Okay, so that's got that. Looks a bit high. But I think we're okay now. I think we've done it. This is being held up a little bit by this strength of these things. Okay, got the job finished then. But when I was pulling off this slate here has slipped off this rafter here, so I've got to take this one out again, put the tool in, and get it back on the rafter. And then hope in the process of doing that I don't have this one slide down on me again. I finally got this well, these two slates into position. This one I found that to get it on the batten, on the piece of wood that runs across that this is supposed to sit on, I had to move it up about an inch or inch and a half from the bottom here, so it's not lining up with this slate here. But I've just had a look at the top on this slate and it's not on the batten at all. It's missing it. So whoever, well, it was done when we had the leaded valley replaced. They've shoved it up to the batten but not onto the batten. So this one, unless the impact of the chimney pots has moved it down, I can't really see that. But it's been left about an inch, well, inch and a half shy where it should be. So I've now got to struggle and figure out how to get these things up where they should be. It's a bit annoying, but it needs to get done properly. Those are the 6 slates going along where they've not pushed them up onto the batten. So those are the sins of the builders. So I'm hoping today to be able to push all those 6 slates back up to where they should be, and then that will be the end of this job. Example of how much of a gap they've left. The bottom slate here should be flush with the bottom of this slate. So the top of this slate here should be flush with the bottom of this one, but there's actually, you know, about an inch or 25mm because this slate has not been pushed up onto this batten. And they've done that with these 6 on this end here. Just very bad workmanship, really. So this is the sort of distance I've managed to move up these slates on the end that were not on the battens. Got them all the way along. The one I've moved up the least is this end one here. I've only got that about half an inch or something like that. It's right on the edge, and I don't really lean over it. There's not really that much support under that edge, so if anything was to break I'd go down. I don't really want that. So I've got it up. It's better than it was, and it's not rained in as far as I know. So I think that's the end of this job.